Hello, I'm Caden, an ADHD freak of a human and a music nerd. One of my obscure obsessions is dark history, cults, disturbing events, war crimes, you name it. I can give you a surface level explanation of any dark part of societal culture. I'm also fascinated with music. I'm a musician myself and I live and breathe the stuff. Today we're going to be branching two niches of culture into one. We're going to be talking about music made by cults. Without further ado, let's get into it. Space Jazz, L. Ron Hubbard. The first artist I will be talking about is L. Ron Hubbard, the musician of course. Now, good old L. Ron doesn't just dabble in getting massive celebrity to pray to alien gods. He's also a musician, or maybe a producer. I don't really know, maybe a Rick Rubin-esque figure, because I don't know how much actual production work he's doing on this project. L. Ron, a self-prestiged author, philosopher, started with his debut work being Dianetics, the modern science of mental health, a long-ass book which tries to claim you can cure anything with free will, which is often regarded as the birthplace for the cult's philosophy and morals. If you don't know who I'm talking about by this point, I'm sorry that you're living under a rock in this cult world. It's Scientology. 30 years after that one book, he wrote another book called Battlefield Earth, thankfully a purely fiction sci-fi dystopian story taking place in the year 3000, where humans are slaves to aliens. Now, this book has a soundtrack for some reason, and a Spotify page. L. Ron Hubbard with 2 songs off the album only on Spotify. Released in 1982 alongside the book, it acts as ambience to the story, I guess? I've just never read a fucking story that sounds like this shit. The key contributors to Space Jazz are L. Ron Hubbard and Chick Corea, a legendary jazz pianist and keyboardist, Stanley Clarke, a renowned jazz bassist known for his work in jazz and funk, Nicky Hopkins, who is a session musician who worked with artists like the Rolling Stones and the Beatles. He worked keyboard and a lot of his just ideas kind of came for the project. Now for the actual sound of this LP, it honestly sounds like ass, and I like some jazz. It sounds like an NES game soundtrack if it was a game instead of a book. It just sounds very boring and empty, ambience tracks with a hint of experimentalism, I guess. It might have the foundation for the genre, but it sounds so boring and lacks personality and expression for the form itself. Not to mention the weird vocal layers this freak decided to have put on half the songs. It's like literally cartoonish maniacal villain laughing and weird high-pitched pained screams scattered throughout corny jazz backtracks. I feel bad judging an ambient piece to another medium so harshly, but it honestly sounds like it had a lot of effort put into it. I don't really understand why everything has a low-pass filter put on it, and the Spotify release only has 2 of the tracks, but there is thankfully a YouTube album of the whole release, and it sounds the exact same quality-wise. So either they were lying about using top-of-the-line equipment for the time, or they just shucked at mixing, which doesn't really make sense because a guy from the Rolling Stones worked on it. I mean, just listen to Tear for Fears or Hall & Oates. Seriously mocks the quality and fidelity of this listening experience on this album. A lot of the riffs and melodies they choose are like the most generic, royalty-free sounding melodies I've literally ever heard. It's like a mimic of royalty-free music. It's weird. It's so weird. I don't understand how someone made this. It's honestly pretty funny and weird, and it just makes me feel uncomfortable. I don't really like it that much. Anyways, I hope this book sucks just as much as the album, because I fucking hate this guy. Shout out Tom Cruise, though. I like Top Gun, I think. Moving on, Kathy Don't Go to the Supermarket, S.O.S. Watch Out for 666 by the Children of God Family International, also known as Heaven's Magic. I might be treading on new ground here. Just fucking sit down and then listen to me for a second. I think I'm onto something here. I'm not gonna lie. I might be cooking. Just give me a shot here. It appears to me that this cult is still active and is under the latter name I mentioned, Family International, not Heaven's Magic. Founded by David Berg in 1968, the Children of God at the time were an authoritarian cult which engaged in the systemic physical and sexual abuse of children in the name of salvation, apocalypticism, and a spiritual revolution and happiness, around the distrust of the outside world, which the members called the system. It honestly sounds like a P-word communist club. They claim to have a sinless sexual relationship with Jesus, of course, with the belief system based out of Christianity. The founder died in the 90s, but while he was older, he decided to make a few new wave power pop songs about the fears and dangers of the outside world, like Kathy Don't Go. a new wave power pop 80s banger about not going to the store because of RFID chips and barcodes in the food. Honestly, it sounds like a plot for a Viagra Boys song. It's honestly pretty fire concept-wise, and it's also fire in the melodies and the instrumentation and the vocals. Lyrics like, without a computer ID, there's no way to pay, and they say the new computer is a way to control, but what they didn't say is that it costs your soul. Shit's gas. I'm not fucking lying, but that shit's actually gas. The video is also just an epic. A group of teens dancing around in a field as an innocent girl decides to go to a supermarket, being confronted with dozens of people with barcodes on their foreheads being scanned by a giant machine in a, like, pentagram shape, one by one, with strange men in giant trench coats. The budget for this video is actually nuts. I'm assuming they spent more on the props and the sets and the people and the actors than they actually did on production of the song. It's honestly fucking sick. If I came up with that, I'd be proud of myself. If this song was a parody of itself, it would be going on my playlist. Cue Kathy Don't Go by Trauma Harness, an epic post-punk rendition of the song. Same lyrics and all. Specifically, that song oddly reminds me of the song in Regular Show where Mordecai and Rigby become rock stars. It uses an identical melody and similar vocal tone. Before I move on to the next song by them, I want to say it's extremely hard to find any information about this music by this group. All the websites are deleted. Google and Wikipedia gave contradicting information about the creator of these songs, and most of my info is literally going off like 10-year-old Reddit threads with links with little descriptions quoting an article that's deleted. Like this shit is like gone. It's very mysterious. Anyways, they released another song, which is confusing to find a name for. Apparently there's 2 music videos, which I believe were originally released on VHS and distributed to recruit teenagers somehow. The Kathy Don't Go to the Supermarket one was on VHS, and now there's this one, S.O.S. or Watch Out for 666, which was also released on VHS maybe a couple months after the Kathy Don't Go. A song about how in the future humans will become slaves to computers, and we will all be hunted down and microchipped in our brain. How the computer chips they will fill us with will somehow be in association with the devil, I don't really know, but the song associates that. It assumes that the government and the devil and the medicine companies and tech all are working together somehow. I don't really get it. Hint the title, Watch Out for 666. All of it will be the government and the medical companies and devil, and all of it will be working together somehow. I really like this song as well. This one's coming out to be more true than the barcodes on foreheads ones. We are putting microchips in our brains. Neuralink had its first patient this year, and it would be really easy to believe these guys and really hate Elon Musk and see him as a villain, which I don't have a problem with. He is a villain. The song is also fire. I wish I could find more on this group, but all of their music is kind of erased from the internet and just left in these tiny uploads on YouTube or SoundCloud or Reddit. I tried looking for the album this song exists on. The title of the album is Songs from S.O.S, as I hoped there were more songs I could get into and I could actually talk about this whole record, but it seems to be lost media. There's not even an investigation going on for this album yet, so that's why I said earlier I think I'm treading on new ground. There's no YouTube upload of the album, the Spotify upload is deleted, and the page Heaven's Magic is in different hands now, releasing gospel music under like more normal Christian context. Apple Music had it, but it's deleted now, and Last.fm gives me 7 songs about the album, and apparently there's reviews on the internet about this album when it came out and more articles 10 years ago about how this album sounded, but the actual songs are completely gone. Only S.O.S and Kathy exist online. So where is this album? If you know anything, please let me know in the comments. I think it's possible the only physical release this album got was on VHS, considering the other 2 songs were only released on VHS as well. This is a huge rabbit hole I'm afraid I might be opening up. So if you're interested in this, let's go create a subreddit or something. I don't fucking know. Now, before I move on, I want to preface I'm solely separating art from artist here in a sonic element. This cult has done horrible acts and horrendous things to children and people, but damn could they make a new wave track. Moving on. Alright, next we've got David Koresh's discography. David Koresh, born Vernon Wayne Howell, was the leader of the Branch Davidians, a religious sect known for its apocalyptic beliefs. Rising to power in the 1980s, Koresh claimed to be a prophet and the Lamb of God, preaching end-times theology and taking multiple wives, including underage girls. His leadership attracted scrutiny, leading to allegations of child abuse and illegal weapons stockpiling. In 1993, a raid by federal agents on the group's compound near Waco, Texas, resulted in a 51-day standoff. The siege ended, in a deadly fire, killing Koresh and 75 followers, including women and children, under circumstances that remain controversial. This is obviously summarizing the Waco siege and the Branch Davidians super quickly. I highly recommend watching Wendigoon's video if you want a more nuanced explanation on the events leading up to and the siege itself. Now, besides the history, David made music, a lot of it. A large discography of pretty lo-fi, heavy rock guitar music, gospel, God themes about the afterlife, the government, and freedom. Since he died in 1993, he never got the chance to release a full record, as he kind of dedicated his life to the cult. This YouTube compilation that I found compiles all of his demos and recordings he had. Honestly, pretty quality guitar playing, sloppy at worst and experimental at best. Sometimes he would play with tempo and melody in a very scratchy way. Some might find it really hard to listen to, but I don't hate it. His vocals were mainly about the apocalypse, finding God, despair, the government, and guns. He was kind of a libertarian rock savior of sorts. He did, however, have one posthumous release, where it's 2 tiny short songs in high quality and a 2-hour speech he gave to his people at Mount Caramel preparing for the siege or something like that. Honestly, David's music didn't feel that representative of the Branch Davidians more than it represented himself. The cult never made music together. David the leader just had a passion for guitar and music, which is why I guess I feel a little underwhelmed by the discography. It's not exactly what I'm looking for, but it's a pretty neat and honestly not bad creative expression. The lo-fi mixing and 90s-esque background air getting picked up over the cassette recording, microphone and amp noise, all of that together, creates this almost shoegazy music niche outsider experience. Especially considering most of the songs are about like the government and like cults. It's like this really weird version of like Daniel Johnston if he got good at guitar instead of like exploring his brain and thoughts. I'll have this discography video in the description, but my favorite songs are Madman and Waco, probably the most formed out song of his. I don't know who played drums in it or if it's an electronic drum machine or something like that, but the mixing is significantly better and it is the best sounding song of his entire project. I would put this song on my playlist if it was on Spotify. Sadly, none of the project is really on Spotify. I also really liked The Lonely Man, a very sad song about himself. Overall, David Koresh wasn't a terrible musician, and he did have an ear for sound, which I can tend to appreciate. Overall, the most soulful stuff so far. I don't hate it. Not as good as Heaven's Magic, though. Sorry, David. Alright, next up we've got Father Yod in the S.O.S family, also known as Yahowha 13. Father Yod, born James Edward Baker in 1922, was a spiritual leader and founder of the S.O.S family, a 1970s communal group in Los Angeles known for its counterculture beliefs and practices. Heavily influenced by the teachings of Yogi Bhajan in the astrological age of Aquarius, he was originally a World War II veteran and jiu-jitsu expert. He became involved in the health food movement and opened the famous S.O.S restaurant in LA, a hotspot for celebrities and New Age enthusiasts. As the leader of the S.O.S family, he adopted the name Father Yod and taught a blend of Eastern mysticism, Western esotericism, and his own spiritual philosophies, often accompanied by LSD and mushrooms. He also fronted an experimental rock band, Yahowha 13, which made fucking insane music. To describe the sound would be overwhelming sexual guitar ruckus with a hint of God watching over, fawning at his creation of hedonism. That is overselling it a little bit, but that is my best description. I'm Gonna Take You Home is a psychedelic rock epic praising the sex gods and LSD. This guy and his boys rocked hard, then played hard. The music shows what he believed in, the health and hedonism yin-yang contrast he participated in. The music doesn't follow much formula and have much vocal substance except reverberated chants. The song E Ao O Shin almost has a shoegaziness to it with the rough guitar and drowned out drums and slow build with overarching analog distortion filters, creating this haunting development of sounds. Just to claim it back into reverberated chants and ticks and talks and other psychedelic noises. Seriously, this song is fucking unhinged. Let me take a tab and get back with y'all. I'm kind of in love with this band, but it's also so strange. Raganova, another song on the album, hits hard and has a more traditional song structure for a rock epic. I really love how the drums hit on this song. Really powerful build-ups to the hook. Overall, kinda love this band. While I couldn't pick up too much on the cult messaging or abruptly cultish themes, the visuals and overall vibe of the album has a very culty vibe. I dig this one. While I can't really find a deeper level of appreciation on this one because there isn't much substance vocally, I do enjoy its sonic content. Since it's not something in my genre wheelhouse, I do tend to kind of stay away from this kind of music, but I do like it. Okay, here's the next one. Mel Lyman, Fort Hill Community with the record Birth. To finish off this list of cultist artists and musicians, we have Mel Lyman and the Mel Lyman family with their record Birth. Mel Lyman was a musician turned charismatic leader who founded the Fort Hill Community, a controversial spiritual collective in Boston during the 1960s and 70s. Originally a harmonica player for the Jim Kwangskin Jug Band, Lyman found LSD, declared himself a godlike figure, and led the group with authoritarian control in a commune, creating soulful folk music that reeks of repetitivity and drought. This album honestly sounds like if a bunch of guys who had some level of an instrument got together in a commune, did LSD, called one of the guys God, and started jamming very slowly. There isn't much tempo to this album, it's very slow. There's not much build either, or hook for that matter. But hear me out. The sadness captured through the tracks on this album is actually pretty despairing. The vocals are also pretty dark and sad. It really reminds me of Great Depression era Southern jazz. It has this sense of despair and loneliness, grittiness, and soulfulness only captured in that early 20th century era of music. Except this was made in 1979. So they must have had something going on, and they had to be going through it to be making stuff like this. I think the guitar and the vocals really make this record. The piano and all the other weird southern jerry-rigged instruments kinda just add to the environment and vibe of the sadness. Regardless of the tone and vibe, the lyrics are mainly about God, purpose, and metaphors of the afterlife and what comes after. I have to admit, the actual mixing and mastering on this record is surprisingly good. Considering it was made by a commune in the 70s, I really enjoyed the sonic palette they managed to tap into. I think it's a very interesting use case the way they recorded these jerry-rigged instruments like washtubs, hubcaps, and washboards. You can really hear the oddity and percussive elements of these old culture instruments, which is rarely captured in the recording well, usually due to these songs having these instruments in being from like the 1920s when they didn't have quality equipment. I enjoyed the vocalist in the themes. Now, from my limited research, I can't really find many horrendous acts this cult did, except make the women act extremely traditional and only serve the men. So, usual America stuff here. Thankfully, no children are word though, so overall not bad for a cult album. I liked it. So that's my 5. Let's get into some honorable mentions that I didn't really want to go too deep in. I want to mention in general ICP, Insane Clown Posse. I wanted to include them in this list somehow, yet they have no religious connotation to their cult. It's more of a culture, I guess you could say. The most existential they get is on a song called Miracles, which is a hilarious song. Please go listen to this song if you haven't heard it, and make sure you watch the YouTube video with it, because it's genuinely incredible. This is like a work of art, this song. I don't know how magnets work. Thank you, ICP, for telling me that I don't know how magnets work. I also want to mention the Manson family. As y'all know, I don't really like taking the immediate choices of the topics I make, which is why I didn't talk about them. I like to educate y'all and actually help y'all learn cool stuff about music. But when it comes to cult music, the Manson family literally has it on lock. Seriously, weirdly successful for their creations. I think it was just a product of the right place and right time with the war on rock music, but the Manson family is obviously the most successful cult music released ever. I don't really like the Manson music, it's kind of mid to me, but I think it's interesting to mention them because they are the most successful. They're kind of the ninja of cult music, if you will. Or the Kai Cenat of cult music, or the Costco guys of cult music, or the Rizzler of cult music, or the Skibbity of cult music. Okay, Jim Jones and the People's Temple Choir. Another extremely famous example I decided to exclude when digging through the rubble of Jonestown in Guyana when 918 people drank the poisonous Kool-Aid, perhaps at gunpoint. The FBI recovered hundreds of tape recordings. While details of Jones' contribution to the music itself has not been recorded, the music was produced incorporating his teachings and philosophies. The album He's Able seems to have been widely available before the massacre, a sort of watered-down gospel music that is mostly unremarkable. But if there's anything scarier than children singing Welcome in an alternative reality, Sesame Street style, I don't know what is. It's pretty mid overall, but it's kind of scary and it's weird, and I should probably mention it because it's Jim Jones, you know. I'm gonna make a cult video. I gotta talk about Jim Jones. I don't fucking know what to tell you. Anyways, guys, that's my list. let's go ahead and get into the outro. You can go ahead and leave now. Bye if you like the video. If you care more about me, let's watch. I want to apologize for not uploading for 2 months. I almost gave this shit up, but I'm decided I'm going to lock in and try this for a while, see if I can make something out of it. No excuses needed. I am a human after all, and this isn't my job. Let me know in the comments what y'all thought of this list here, and if like the tone and everything sounds good to y'all. I want to keep making videos about topics around music and disturbing culture, so please let me know if you like this crossbreed or if you want me to stick with the more rate your music nerd stuff. Give me some video ideas in the comments too, that would really help me. I'm mainly stuck on getting original video ideas. There's just too many videos on YouTube. Anyways guys, go listen to my music, go listen to my friends' music. If you want to follow me on Instagram, you can in the description. Tap in with me, talk to me, see what I'm up to. Anyways guys, this will be the video for now. I hope y'all enjoyed. Please just subscribe if you liked the video. Please leave a like if you want, comment. It helps the algorithm, I think. We'll see if this video blows up. Till the next one, this has been Homesick. Caden, bye bye.